Welcome back, folks, to the Membership Machine Show. This is episode 39. We're in the summer. We're in the end of July. Where did it go? I shall not know. My great co-host has not had his soak this morning in his hot tub, but he looks reasonably relaxed.
I've had my walk, but not my soak yet.
Oh, well, there we go.
But it was so hot that it was almost like a walking soak.
Yeah, I would imagine that. So, Spencer, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Yes, it is Spencer Foreman from WP-Launchify.com, or on social media, Spencer Foreman. Leave off the E in Foreman for savings.
Oh, that's great. And in this great podcast episode, we're going to be looking at Podio. It's a really popular SaaS membership building platform. And then we're going to be going through its strengths and weaknesses in the first half and a general conversation. And in the second half of the show, we'll be looking how you could build the equivalent really easily and quickly on WordPress and some of the key plugins and things you need to know to do that. So, Spencer, Podio has been getting more market share. It's been around quite a time. I think originally it was called Coaches when they started about 7-8 years ago. They renamed it, and it, like I say, has some real strengths. It has some weaknesses as well. So has Podio been on your radar at all, or is this all new territory for you, Spencer?
Well, as you know, now in our, what is this, 895th show over...
I know, it feels that way.
I feel like I've been married to you longer than I was married to my children's mother. And it's been more contentious than the woman I got divorced from. But nevertheless, what I want to point out...
I don't believe that for a second.
It's with love. It's with love in my heart, Jonathan, that I say these things that you must hear. What I want to let you know is, since I don't read the show notes in advance, because I like to be like Frank Zappa when asked about whether his lead guitar riffs are the same every show, he basically said, my gift is I have this much time, I show up, and the universe delivers whatever I can shove into that time zone. So I immediately I typed in Podia, and I arrived at podia.net, which is apparently broadcast your message live on demand, public or secure platform for webinars and corporate video. And there was no pricing. And I was about to say, what are we talking about here? And then I went to podio.com. So it's worth mentioning that when you do search for Podia, it doesn't go to podia.com right off, probably because they spent a lot of money. I don't use Podia. I hadn't looked at Podia. I have heard the name of Podia, but the reason that I wouldn't necessarily do it is because, so many times on this show and on the roundtable show, I don't like the way that most platforms work unless they're curated from the same stack of control and ownership plugins that you would get on your own. So in other words, this is like the same SaaS solution of other SaaS platforms. You're going to get something, but you're going to be locked into Podia unless I've misunderstood something. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, but I think, yeah, you are correct.
And I bring this out with love because SaaS solutions are where it's at. But the main benefits of even what my own claims of what I'm doing with LaunchKit platform, WordPress gives you ownership, control, some degree, if you're allowed, of modularity, and you can always take it to go. The problem with things like this is, let's say a tricycle, you buy it, you ride it, and then in high school, everybody's moved on to their two-wheelers. You're still on your tricycle at Podia. You get what they give you, and that's it. And I don't know if that's good or bad here because the pricing is very attractive. Maybe this is a good launching point. But today we're going to talk about it from that perspective. I think that's what I can bring to the table is like, is the ready-to-go tricycle better than just having a platform built with WordPress plugins, like something else I can offer you or you can offer them? That's the question.
Well, before we go into the list of the subtopics that we'll be going through the first half, I just want to say this, that I think one of the strengths of Podio is it's been an established platform, and its strength compared to some of the other established SaaS players is that it offers some good marketing functionality. Because I think the type of people that look at it are also looking at Kajabi and WordPress. I think where it comes to the marketing and side of it, it definitely has some strengths compared to Thinkific or Learnable. But when it comes to customization and theme offerings and the look, it is quite restrictive.
You're talking about Kajabi now, right?
I'm talking about Podio. Yeah.
Of course it's limited.
But I think also because the way they have positioned themselves, and which is based on some facts as well, people are very attracted by the pricing.
Let's get that out of the way. The pricing, which again was not on Podia.net, but on Podia.com, the pricing is free with an 8% fee. We're going to take a little piece of your action.
I think no, it isn't.
It says right up there, 8% fees.
Does it? But I thought
I'm on the pricing page. Right, if you pay let's do monthly. The 0 month free, 8% fees. On our free plan, we charge 8% transaction fee. Stripe will also charge you a transaction fee of 2.9% plus 30 cents. So you're at 10.9% plus 30 cents for everything you sell. Listen, we're going to offer you a little protection because your business needs it, and it's going to be fine. Well, guess what? If you sell $100,000 worth of stuff, about 11 grand is just, you hear it going into the hands of the guy that comes every month for his envelope. If you pay $39 a month, you get no transaction fees other than, of course, Stripe, which is normal. You get a website, community, blah, blah, blah. If you pay $89 a month, which, by the way, these prices are all very reasonable, you get more stuff, and that's where you're at, which I want to just actually say something. Up to $97 a month is where it should be at. That's where everybody's at. That's where I'm at with the Lunch Kit platform. $97 a month with everything included is absolutely reasonable for full featured. And sure, something in between like 40, their pricing is completely normal. I don't feel it's unreasonable for them to take what they want to take on the free thing. I just think it's a waste of people's time to do that. Because,
well, actually, until about 3 months ago, they weren't offering that free plan.
Maybe they're trying to experiment.
They wouldn't offer it. Well, I think they did have a free plan, but no, they didn't actually.
So the pricing is fine. I mean, I really agree with that.
So it's a very recent development, the free plan. I tend to discount it because of the 8% fee. So I look at the mover, and the mover, which if you pay yearly is 33, if you pay monthly is 39, folks. There's a couple strong things that you got to know about the mover plan. Is that it doesn't include Zoom integration. You've got to go up to the shaker. And if you want to remove the Podio branding, you've got to go up to the shaker plan as well.
So, by the way, I want to make a point on that, because let's just call it what it is. I think they can do what they want, because in some ways you are too, competing with them, because that's why we're having this conversation. I think they could just save everybody the trouble and go make the shaker $97, say try it free for 2 weeks or a month or whatever, because that's going to churn up what somebody makes if they don't keep it. And the mover would be halfway. So it'd be like, if I was to do it myself, I would eliminate the mover and just try it for free and pay $97. But the shaker and the mover could be just bumped up slightly, and get rid of the white label branding nonsense, because that's just that's crazy. So if they did that, then they're on par with where I think actually people's sensibilities are in this space for all the other SaaS platforms like Kartra, Kajabi, ClickFunnels, and so forth, and even for what I feel is the WordPress alternative to it. And that would simplify things. But having said that, I don't feel there's anything that I am immediately turned off about I love everything on their site. They've got very clear very clear homepage. I mean, really well done.
Yeah. So let's start off with the list of the main subjects. Ease of use. I think this is one of the greatest strengths of Podio, but there's a duality there. It is really aimed at somebody that's probably quite new to the membership business model and the building out of a membership website. It has two main metaphors, sections and lessons. Sections are just kind of placeholders. It's really quite easy to set up your lessons, but it is quite restrictive. You can't upload a PDF and a video at the same time. It has very strong restraints about layout, structure, which is good and bad, because my experience with WordPress is especially attempting to spend too much time on the actual layout of the lesson or the course, and especially the lesson, that really some people get fixated about that, and it's the wrong one, especially when you're starting out. It's the wrong thing to fixate about. It's totally wrong. But it has, and there's always a balance between the ease of use and flexibility and power. This really aims at ease of use. It doesn't have the customization that Kajabi, and it definitely doesn't have anything like what WordPress can offer. So
well, I'm using it right now as we speak, because there is a certain part of this that's appealing, and I do agree with the sensibility of this. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. So, for example, free trial immediately got me into a demo site. I'm on the demo site now typing away, and this will be useful. It gives you a very simple choice. Do you want to set up your site, your email thing, like 4 choices. Then I said I want to set up the site, and I haven't read any instructions, which I never do. Gives me a very clean interface, which does remind me of what Gutenberg could be if people would stop taking hallucinogenics and changing everything every day. But it's like the simplest version. Maybe this is where they wish it would go, but the thing that you mentioned, which happens, is so you can put stuff into a layout from the left, like, oh, I want to put a button or a grid. When you put that in, here's the part I actually think is very clever, because in the experience, that's why I'm doing this cadence stack instead of everything else. In Gutenberg, too many choices, too many whatever, and you can break too many things. Here you put a grid in, and it has on the left, like the Mad Libs game. What do you want the title to say? What do you want the subheading? What do you want the third heading? What do you want the button to say? But you can't change the position of those things. You can only fill in what they say, which is actually quite brilliant, because by forcing people to choose from this is it and not having any question that they can't break it, you can move the grid up and down with another row. I think that's actually quite good for most creators. You could save a lot of trouble. And I like that. I mean, I think it's great. Now, this is where, again, I think as we go through this, we'll find out. I think what's going to be happening is I'm going to be doing these things. I'm going to see all these amazing things they're doing great. So it's going to come down to, do you want to buy the ready-made tricycle, or do you want to achieve the same thing with WordPress that you can change, ultimately own and control? Because otherwise, so far, from what I'm seeing, they're doing a great job of offering what WordPress could be if somebody just delivered it as a curated solution. Yeah. Some people in this audience here.
Yeah. I thought you might say that. But gee, my God, Bobs.
I'm like a box of chocolates, Jonathan. You never know what you're going to get with me every Friday.
I know precisely what I'm going to get. So it really is quite easy to get started. And when it comes to the actual course and lesson, it has got a very modern interface, folks. And the student actually sees and how they utilize the platform is it's got a modern look. And I also think it's a benefit that you can't, when you're the actual owner of the membership website and you're putting your content in, folks, that you haven't got too many options. Because like I say, I've seen too many times people wanting to change how the lesson template looks. They want to move this around, that around. At the right stage of your business, I think
tinkering, endless tinkering.
Yes, it's endless tinkering at the wrong stage of your business. I think yes, because I think when you've got a good business, a good student base, and you're getting feedback that there's elements that your student base is looking for, having the ability to customize and not having to change platform is a benefit, and that's what WordPress can offer. This type of platform, and it doesn't just apply to Podio, but all the SaaS platforms, there's nothing worse having a good business and then you're having to swap platforms. And
yeah,
that's
what I can do. I think I actually do here is I don't think this is too hard on us. Let's just pop in for those who watch us.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do it. Oh, look, I still have to do it. So here's, for example, this grid thing we're talking about, which if you're listening,
yes,
you basically have, I chose build a site. And so you get a layout, which is like Gutenberg might be in a world of people that can make up their mind already. You can choose to preview it, mobile and whatever. This is very Gutenberg-like. You can choose your base colors and fonts. But here's the part that was really so simple. There's just these rows that have pluses and minuses, just like Gutenberg, except they're in the middle. And you go, I want to add another row. And then it gives you a choice of what do you want to put? Text, image, I guess video is premium, email, bio, and then like grid, FAQ. So let's put in a testimonial. It puts in a pre-baked thing, but not like everyone under the sun. It just gives you, here's what it is. But this is what was really intuitive. Now you just click the little pen or whatever to edit, and ta-da, you just type in the thing. This is the title. This is testimonials. And it's just filling in the places that are already made. And if you want to move it up and down, that's obvious too. You just use up arrow, down arrow. And then it's already saving it. You click publish. I'm done. Like, this is what it could be.
Yeah, it is quite... I just want to point out that it doesn't give you the control like Kajabi.
No, you can't change the location of stuff on the actual...
No, and you can't... You've got no control over padding, margin, and when it comes to the global settings, text, spacing, blah blah blah, there is,
and you can't take it with you. So let's say you get out the door. This is the part that's hard for people to understand, but I have to keep waving this flag. Okay, you're building a business, people. What's the thing you're building? A relationship based upon providing certain solutions to pain points. And when you build the business, the relationships and the history and the money that you take from people is on a platform. If you start that relationship in, I don't know, you're living in, Chicago in a factory, but you're not really sure if you want to stay in Chicago or you're going to move to Amsterdam, it would be really better if you decided to put stuff into like a mobile version first that you could take with you, or build in Amsterdam first, because putting everything in the city of Chicago and then moving it is going to be really hard on your business and your customers. Starting on this platform is sexy and fast, but if you wanted to do the things Jonathan is talking about, like I'd like to have control over more, I'd like to do more, and you're never going to get it. This is it.
Well, because there's always this balance, and but I think the good news, it's frustrating, but I think it's frustrating. We have some frustration with WordPress because it could offer both. It could offer really easy, and that's what Spencer's trying to offer in his product, and this is what we try and offer at WP-Tonic. But so ease of use is really of these SaaS platforms. I think Podio is doing a great job about onboarding which is one of the weaknesses of native WordPress, and what a lot of us are trying to make easier, a much more modern onboarding experience. Podio, of the SaaS platforms, I think does a really great job. When it comes to course creation and engagement, I think it's got a really modern interface, and not for the owner to build their course and for the student to consume the course. When it comes to site design and customization, it is quite limited. The websites that you can produce do look good, but you're very limited, and the customization is extremely limited. When it comes to sales and marketing functionality, the actual buying a course, they use a pop-up. And what I mean is, you can embed the shopping cart on a page, but their normal setup is a pop-up, which and you're limited to PayPal and Stripe, which isn't a problem. There's only specific reasons why you wouldn't use Stripe or PayPal.
I mean, there's this PayPal Stripe thing. I can put a fork in it because I work with Drew Angel, who's got a really great solution for PayPal. There are still people who have a reason to use PayPal, and his plugin is a great way because it's free, but it gives you a lower price maybe. But let's be honest, unless you're living in some part of the world where they can't take Stripe, why would anybody use anything other than Stripe? I mean, it's dumb.
Well, I would slightly disagree. I know where you're coming from.
I mean, Authorize.net still exists, and there's discounts on this if you do $1 trillion.
No, I slightly disagree with you with PayPal. Some people just do like utilizing PayPal.
If you sell stuff under $5, like, you know, MP3 files and, you know, whatever. But when you look at the model and how they treat customers and what they're doing lately, I think the people who stay with PayPal are people that just want to, you know, strap themselves to a tree and just like torch themselves, because it's like, why bother with that? Stripe doesn't do most of those things, and it's professional.
Yeah, well, you've got your insider knowledge. I'm talking about the average Joe here. I'm not being disparaging. People, there's still a lot of people that like using PayPal, but I'm not disparaging any of the reasons that you pointed out, but you're an insider. That's why people are listening to this show.
I suppose that's true. If you wanted to use one or the other, maybe use PayPal or use Stripe, but using them together exponentially increases your complications of running and managing and accounting for your business.
It does. I totally agree. But like I say, folks, when it comes to marketing, it's one of the main, funny enough, I said at the beginning of this review of Podio that the people that tend to look at it are looking at Kajabi, and they're more marketing orientated. One of the weaknesses of Podio is there's no real easy way of setting up landing pages in the system. It does have email marketing functionality, and you can do drip campaigns. You got to go, but it's basic. If you want to do more extensive email marketing, you've got to go up to the higher plan, and because the higher plan will allow you to integrate with something like Active Campaign or some of the other like MailLite,
Fluent CRM.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. But I'm talking about the other SaaS solutions that it will. But you've got to go to the higher plan again to have the other thing. That you've got to go to the higher plan, folks, is if you want to put, which is a big limitation if you're looking at the lower plan, is that if you want to install a Facebook Pixel, you've got to go up to the upper plan, or if you want to put Google Analytics on your site, you've got to go up to the higher plan. You don't get that functionality for the 33 if you pay yearly, or the 39 if you pay monthly. So you've got to be aware of that. It's another restriction, folks. I think it's email. I don't because I'm a little bit. I'll be interested in what you think about this. I'm a little bit
The email part or what?
About them using a pop-up for the sale for the actual shopping cart. Because you can have,
or in
general, because people can have pop-up blockers, can't they?
I don't think anybody in 2023 should use modals or pop-ups if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I'm not a great fan.
Because we're in a scroll up and down world, and the metaphor breaks. Modals have been used for lots of different things, none of them good, because they're what's called interruptive. So in the world that we live with, scrolling,
a bit like you.
Yeah, I mean, this is like our relationship, isn't it? You just, I'm making a point. You throw a big modal window in on me, and vice versa. As soon as you just start rambling on like Mitch McConnell at a press conference and freeze up, I just have to throw in a modal.
God, that was weird, wasn't it?
That was very strange. Anyway, so we'll save that for another show. The point is that people don't want to be interrupted. So what you can do is you can scroll to a different panel very effectively. Or we'll have conditional display of panel. So for example, using the tools available to us in WordPress with marketing automation, I'll often show people with the launch flows and WP Fusion or Fluent or whatever we're using. There's a conditional sales panel at the top of the page for a logged in user based on whether they've done this, seen this, or gotten tags. And then if they have, then it doesn't show. Or if you're on a checkout, like with launch flows, and you are shopping at the top, it scrolls to the bottom for the checkout. Those are effective. Modals are just bad news, bad idea. So are slide ins and slide outs. So are horizontal sliders, because we're all finally, thank God, on a metaphor of screens and devices all just go up and down, and that's it. And then, don't break it. Don't change the metaphor. By the way, I'm using their email thing. It required me just simply to confirm my email, which is terrific. And somewhere.com. I'm doing a test to see about finishing up so I can create a broadcaster campaign. But again, same sensibility as the designer. I love how ridiculously limited it is, because that's what happens is that's what I'm focusing on now. My message is simplicity for creators, because the tinkering has taken everybody in the WordPress world off into la la land.
I know where you're coming from. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. It's just a slight difference. I think tinkering has its place at wanting to change things when you're proving your business model and you're getting feedback from your student base that if you could alter something, it would be a better experience. It's tinkering when you have no data. There's no reason for it. There's no point, because you haven't even got your first students in
exactly. You finally, I would say you said it as well I could say myself. When the birdie is hatching from an egg in the nest, it doesn't need to worry about hunting and all the things that survival in the wild. It needs to worry about waiting for the mommy to go chirp, 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 feed me. Here's an example I'm sharing on the screen of their campaign builder. I love the conditions. There's not 400 conditions, but at least they do have conditions that, again, presuming you're selling a product on here, what's the reason that somebody gets this message? They signed up for a product, they were on a wait list, joined a community. And they do have tags, which, by the way, I haven't dug in yet because I just started. But the fact that tags exist, that's actually, super cool. So here, there's tagged with email form embedded. I'm not sure what those mean, but now I've got a condition, and then there's an exit for condition, and then here's the email. And I presume when I click here, I'll be able to draft an email. Very simple, very elegant, right? Delay of certain days. You get to test it. I love that. There's some basic design, for the whole thing, like the general colors and the fonts and the buttons, preview text. And then there's a few really clever, not too many, pre-made templates or previous emails, which I kind of think is just enough. So let's apply that. And I got this nice little orange setup. And guess what I can do? Just like the page builder, I just have a couple rows of blocks. I can move them up and down and change the text, get on with my day.
Yeah. So I think what you're pointing out, Spencer, and I think it is the great strength of Podio compared to some of Thinkific or Learnable, is that when it comes to UX design and offering the right amount of functionality with two who they are really aiming this, the person really starting their first. When you do a search around this on YouTube, there are some power players that have moved from Kajabi to this. I really question that myself, but I think who they're aiming at and how they've linked that to the UX design is very polished. And the last thing before we go for our break is customer support and training. It's another great strength of Podio. They have got a very good reputation for their customer support, about answering questions very rapidly. And they do have a lot of training material on the website. They've got a lot of documentation. But on the other hand, I don't think you have to do an enormous dive, because I think they've really sorted out the UX design for the segment of the market that they're really aiming their product for. So what do you think of what I've just outlined? Do you think I'm on the right path there, Spencer?
Well, I don't have any basis to know how their support is, but I will say that as a business, and by the way, I'm testing their tags as we're speaking. As a business, my advice as a thought leader in WordPress and as an experienced marketer and building these audiences and doing it again now in public, the one thing you can offer from 2023 and beyond in a world of endless automation and products and services and choices is a relationship with your prospective and actual customers. That's it. Everything else that you do from here on out is a spin-off on whether you have a good relationship with people or not, because the toys and the tools and the AI have removed all of the impediments from normal people having endless shiny ball syndrome, right? I mean, there's endless content on TV, endless inexpensive devices like a 85-inch TV for $300 with Roku built in. What do you not have? You don't have a guarantee of a human being who will communicate with you and answer your questions and help you when you're stuck. And that's what people really want, which is terribly wonderful and ironic all at the same time, because we've come full circle. The old days, you needed a craftsman or a concierge or a helper to just get something to exist. Now the problem is you have so many things that exist. You need a human being to help you figure out which one you really need or want. But it's never been more true. So that's what I'm suggesting that this does deliver. You could theoretically become a Podia intermediary expert and help people. Maybe Podia does that themselves. I'm not really sure, but it sounds like it's probable based upon the thoughtfulness of the rest of the platform. But with the caveat that I keep coming back to, which is you are going to be locked, even happily, into the Podia cage, because there's nothing you can do with this stuff afterwards other than manually put it onto something else. Exactly. You'd have to literally like copy paste out your emails, take the CSV of people, retag them. I mean, you could do it, but it'd be like rebuilding a Lego thing from scratch.
I think that's totally right. I think if you do start getting traction, folks, and you do start building up a good membership business, you are rapidly going to hit a brick wall with this platform.
So why not start with something else?
Yeah. So we're going to go for our mid-break, folks. We'll be back in a few moments.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Lifter LMS, the leading learning management system solution for WordPress. If you or your client are creating any kind of online course, training-based membership website, or any type of e-learning project, Lifter LMS is the most secure, stable, well-supported solution on the market. Go to lifterlms.com and save 20% at checkout with coupon code podcast20. That's podcast20. Enjoy the rest of your show.
This is like asking Zuckerberg. Oh, I mean, we're not billionaires. This is like asking Zuckerberg to review Twitter. It's like
I think we can be a bit more balanced than that.
So Spence and Jonathan, you've got basically a better solution on WordPress. Let's talk about Podia. I mean, it's unfair to Podia.
I think the listeners, I think we've given a very balanced look at Podio. It's got some enormous strengths.
Oh my God! Let's stop on that. Of all the things we've looked at, if Spence had built something like this, this is what it would be. I am really enjoying, even in the 5 seconds I'm using this.
It's nothing. Its fundamental weakness, apart from certain things, certain specifics, like, you know, you need to go up to the higher plan for Zoom. Its target audience, it's a polished solution to some extent, but it has that fundamental weakness of all SaaS platforms.
I love the way they have simplified and limited it down to its essence. The interface is clean. The choices are everything. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for a SaaS platform.
So
but you can't take it with you. You can't expand it.
Yeah. So before we go on to look at some of the key WordPress plugins that can offer similar functionality without being restricted, before we do that, I just want to point out that WP-Tonic offers a great solution if you're looking to build your membership website on WordPress. Great hosting with a great selection of plugins and great support in one package. So if that's interesting to you, go over to WP-Tonic and see what we got to offer. I'm sure you're going to be delighted. So Spencer, let's have a look.
Yes, Jonathan.
Yes. So let's go and look at some of the solutions, if bundled together, which would offer you a similar thing. Oh, by the way, one thing I left out in our first half is that they do offer unlimited video hosting through Vistia.
Paid plan, though, right?
I think that's they're not, well, like I say, the free plan, that's only material. I'm surprised they've gone that way because it's only materialized in the last 3 months. But they must have data that, you know, to expand their market share, they had to offer that. But they do offer.
I don't know. I don't know what their thing is. Hold on. Let's just slow down here. I don't know what their model is, but like I was alluding to, Drew Angel has got this free plugin for PayPal. PayPal offers a slight piece of the action while also delivering a lower cost to the end user who uses plugin. So there are ways that the underlying deal might come from, let's say, Stripe or something. But in this case, what I think they've made a clear choice for, which is a reasonable offer, because Gumroad and other people have done that, is they're like, look, it's free, but we're going to take a piece of the action. Now, 8%, I'm not going to begrudge them, but it sounds like it's a decent amount of money. But they probably figured, based upon people starting out with one little $4 birdie egg, it's like they'll never make their money back for the cost of hosting the even basic site unless they charge at least 8%. But what it does tell me right away is you're either going to be forced to shit or get off the pot to go to their paid plan, or you should probably think about whether use this to launch an idea. And as soon as you know the idea works, before you spend too much time, get yourself over to something like, you know, Lunch Kit platform or something, because then you can build and grow it without having to either pay a huge amount on your profits or you know, being stuck with what you can do. This, by the way, doesn't mean you couldn't continue to keep it simple. There's a guy who makes those Notion templates, and I saw him on the Sam Parr show, and I've seen him on Twitter. He's doing like $1 million a year with Notion templates. Like, simple works. But WordPress ownership and control at a simple level means you never are stuck. And that's where I started this journey. You know,
so let's look at some of the solutions. So number one, apart from hosting and some other... oops, you're okay.
I just had back surgery, you know.
All right, sorry about that. So you need a page builder. So I think the two clear solutions are either Cadence WP or Elementor. If you want to build something in the world of WordPress and have the flexibility of design, ownership, and ease of building something out. Would you agree with that?
Did you say Elementor?
Yeah, either Cadence, WP, or Elementor. They're the two clear.
I mean, I think we've talked about this before. I'm not going to begrudge your suggestion of Elementor, and I love the team in Elementor. I would say Elementor has left the building and left the conversation. That is not a simple way, because here's the real reason. It's nothing to do with the interface, which, by the way, is far too complex. But it has to do with the fact that it's a whole separate thing now. Cadence is a theme, and the blocks work with the default editor. That is different on all levels than having a whole page builder that you have to launch, and it has an owner window, and you need 500 kilobits of memory, and blah, 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 blah. So I love the team. I love Verity and Miriam and everybody else who runs it, but like they need to do their thing for Elementor first. WordPress, by the way, runs on it. In WordPress, I say Cadence has got it figured out, and I am never more adamant than before. I love Jamie, and I also love Brian Gardner, and I love all the other FSC people. But man, oh man, I am just putting a wall up and calling a day on the idea of going down that road of 5 more years of messing around.
Well, you don't know what road it's endlessly changing, isn't it? It's just,
I mean, they're going to do what they want to do, but I'm sticking with what we got today, which is we deliver with like the LaunchKit platform, this Podia-like solution, but built on WordPress, that you can start from basic, but keep going and growing and own it, control it, even if you're a tinkerer, or you use somebody's help, like your help, and then you don't have to worry about like, what am I going to build and who will own it later?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but we fundamentally disagree. I think Elementor is still a good platform if you want to build them. So let's move on, because I don't want to get bogged down.
It takes two, baby.
Yeah, there we go. You got your opinion, I've got mine. So number 2, I think the two clear that will enable you to build a membership with. Oh, that's another thing that I forgot. I've got a very forgetful memory today. Is the other thing that Podio doesn't offer is certificates. It doesn't offer certificate
in the paid one. Also, it doesn't allow you to set up your paid thing until you set up your Stripe. But what it does do, which I appreciate, is it allows you to have free and wait list. So that was very clever. I can share with you the screen I'm on.
No, I want to get on with the WordPress thing.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's interesting the options that you're talking about with certificates and so forth that allows you to set up courses and offer them free or wait list, but you have to set up your Stripe payment first to go beyond that. That was a clever solution versus what I've seen in like ConvertKit. ConvertKit doesn't even let you build anything until you set up your Stripe, and that's kind of limiting to me because I want to do like a test checkout or something.
Oh yeah. Well, if you got to choose which, like number 1, how you're going to build the website, and then you need your learning management system. There are membership plugins, but both me and Spence would say don't bother utilize Lifter a learning management system. The 2 leaders are either Lifter LMS or LearnDash. Would you agree with that?
I mean, we've discussed that in the WordPress space, the 2 leaders are definitely LearnDash and Lifter LMS. They have comparable features. I really love, obviously, the whole team. They're like a family at Lifter LMS, Chris and Kurt and Will and everybody else. LearnDash, however, had a substantial investment in their code base, and they have a gargantuan number of things. So I do find that it depends on what
I like the Stellar team. I like the Stellar team as well. They're cool people.
It's Coke and Pepsi. But what I suggest to people is, like, what's your priority? If you're looking for the relationship and the community, Lifter should be something you should look at first.
I say Stellar. This is one of the problems. Stellar, solid. I don't know. I still don't know what to really call it. Solid.
But now the problem, I spoke to Kathy Zant the day before yesterday, and what's worse is now Stellar's trying to like put its brand across all the sub brands, and it's a bit of a mess. Nevertheless, LearnDash as a product, when put into context of just focusing on the code, has a substantial third-party marketplace. It has substantial improvements on the code, and there's nobody who would pretend otherwise, even starting with Chris, our good friend, because it was originally written as it went by Chris's original partner, and he did an amazing job, but it hasn't been refactored yet. So you get around it, and they're doing new stuff, but that's what the difference is. I don't think it's a better or worse. I think it's just which kind of thing are you looking for as your priority. Nevertheless, they both offer the incredible flexibility that you will not get on a Podia. Podia is just make your stuff, use a limited number of things, and then you're good to go. Which, by the way, forces people into that Notion templates mindset. Like, why do I need 8 million things and colors? All I want to do is deliver the words and the videos and the pictures and sell it.
Both offer, like I say, Lifter LMS, it's the team. They're very similar. They have differences. You just have to make your judgment. But I don't think you're going to go too wrong using either. Payments, WooCommerce subscription with launch flows. That combination, I would imagine that you're in total agreement with that choice.
Launch flows, along with the other things that we're doing with this LaunchKit platform, are my way of being Podia on WordPress, which is why I'm giving Podia today the benefit of the doubt and a 10 out of 10. The main exception is, do you want a platform that you are staying with, or do you want to control it? And if you decide to control it, Launch Flows works with all the options you could do. But when you use the core things, it basically simplifies stuff like, look, here's a link to a product in an engine that can be sold anywhere by clicking on it. And somebody goes immediately to a checkout, and they could be offered an upsell, a downsell, or whatever. But when they're done, they're taken to a thank you page that's informative. Done. That's 99% of what Launch Flows does, because it modifies the otherwise complex array of things that WooCommerce requires of somebody, like shop a grid of products, go to the product page, add it to the cart, go to the cart, review it, go to the checkout page, get a generic thank you that doesn't tell you anything. Then you have to go to your My Account dashboard. All those things are good for a shop of a traditional sense, but not for the way people want to sell in today's simplified world. So yeah, we're on the same page. I know I'm repeating myself, but
never.
If I were to make the LaunchKit platform look like Podia, which it sort of resembles in some way, that would be fine by me, because they've done a great job. But you just can't stop talking about but you're building yourself into somebody else's cage. That's it. Like a birdie who gets in and closes the door behind it. You can't ignore that.
Yeah, I think in previous shows you have utilised a good metaphor, the freewheeler, and then that gets you riding quick, but you soon want your speed racer bike, but you're on a freewheeler, so you got to understand that, haven't you?
Everybody, when they're starting out, likes to just get going fast. I love that this is free. I actually, in the course of just a show, I could probably get a course up and running and put people on a wait list to collect emails. I mean, that's awesome. That's actually a great alternative. I'm not sure how many, I got to go back to the thing. I don't know how many emails I could send out to people, but the point is, this is really, really pretty clever. And let me just see something. That actually brings up a good point. Like, I wonder what I can get away with for free. I could do email marketing, but it doesn't really say how much. I got to see what the details are, how much I can send out for emails and stuff. Do you know what that answer is?
No, I don't. So we go on to the next one, forms. I obviously there's loads of form plugins, and like Gravity Forms and other ones. There's some great choices, but because we're looking at the most integrated, easier, I think you can't beat Fluent Forms. And if you want to go step up, Fluent Forms Pro, I think it's a clear one that I would recommend for the general user. Would you agree with that?
I love Fluent Forms. It's got a new version. It's got a couple things that were made slightly more complicated, but when you stick to the basics, I love the deep integration. So it's the choice for me to use Fluent Forms, Fluent CRM, Fluent SMTP.
Yeah.
Gravity Forms, still the grandfather, the OG, but it has 8 million integrations, 8 million things. You got all these extra downloads. Carl Hancock's a great entrepreneur. I communicate with him and follow him, but it has not really fully come into the modern era because I don't think they need to. They had a recent refresh of their interface, but it feels like a sort of, you know what I mean? Like a lipstick on a pig kind of thing. It still works great, but you can see the underpinnings of it, and it's just super solid. But
yeah,
if I had a choice,
well, it's aimed at the professional market, in my opinion, and that's its strength. Where the Fluent Forms, right, you do have that underlying power and because it's from the same people. So Fluent CMTP, what that is, that's the slight thing, folks. You need this plugin so you can send your email through Fluent Forms or Fluent CRM, which is a CRM that has the power of Active Campaign, and it's a great team. But you're going to need to send out your email, and either you use SendGrid or Mailgun, and it's quite easy to integrate it, isn't it, Spencer?
I found the answer, right? Yeah. By the way, yes, that's the answer. But I also found on the free plan you can send 250 emails, which is pretty reasonable. Like if you have nobody, you can send 50 people on a list, 5 emails. That's pretty good for free. So here's an idea, but again, it's sort of like do it for free there, experiment, see if you can get a list together, 50, 100, 200 something people. And by the way, let's check how many people you can get on your list if there's a limit there. Because some of these CRMs limit that. That's where they price it out differently. So in terms of interesting, it doesn't seem to refer to, which is interesting, how many people. It says unlimited members. So that's actually probably good. Yeah. So if you wanted to grow a list by offering a free, simple product, you have my blessing, presuming this will export the CSV, to use this as a tool, because you would be up and running.
I know because you've said the same thing with some other things, and I've agreed. I know exactly where you're going with what you just said.
You'd be up and running in a half an hour, but then you're going to have to move at some point.
Yeah, the problem is you're going to get sucked in, and then you're going to invest a load of time, and then you're going to hit that wall. If you start getting traction and you start building your membership website, you're going to hit that wall.
When you build your
but that applies to all these SaaS platforms, folks. So we've gone through Fluent CRM, that's Active Campaign, how to send your email, why you should use Fluent Forms. Can you explain quickly why, and I think you would have this in your stack, WP Fusion, why add WP Fusion to something like Fluent CRM and Fluent Forms?
How do they work together, you mean?
No, why would you add it to the recommended stack?
So the difference between Fluent CRM and WP Fusion is very subtle, but the Fluent CRM at its heart is really the CRM. That's the customer relationship management software. That's what allows for automations to happen with tags and custom fields, and it allows you to manage the other details of that relationship. WP Fusion is more akin to a USB cable or Velcro. It works in the ecosystem of a WordPress site to connect based upon the users and the user metadata, what people are doing in and amongst all the things in WordPress, and then synchronize that information to what we call a contact profile in the CRM. It seems confusing because, wait a second, Fluent is inside the site. But remember, the origins of WP Fusion were you had a third-party SaaS CRM, like Planet WordPress had the orbiting moon of Active Campaign or something, and you needed a way to communicate what the users of planet Earth were doing and save it in the satellite. Now, well, let's say, for example, Jonathan is a prospect. I can add him into my CRM and keep talking to him just through the CRM, whether it's Fluent or Active Campaign or Salesforce. But when I want to track what Jonathan does on my WordPress site, what he clicks or buys or sees or can see or socializes, now I need a tool like WP Fusion to speak to those plugins and services in WordPress to track Jonathan as a user and synchronize information about his behavior to the CRM, usually in the form of giving tags, but also by changing the value of fields. Jonathan visited Tuesday, the 1st of February. He bought this, clicked this, did this, and he has a tag for each. Why is that important? The CRM uses the field values or the tags to trigger automations. If Jonathan saw this and bought this, send him an email or do the following. Now, Fluent SMTP is what connects your WordPress site to any of the premium email outbound services, which you need today to use a reputable service provider. Amazon SES, SendGrid, Mailgun, Google because otherwise your mail will not get delivered, because there's only about a half a dozen to a dozen reputable services, and they all talk to each other. So
and would you agree? Would you agree that SendGrid and Mailgun are probably the two easiest reputable ways of doing this?
I don't. Yeah, because I don't. I mean, I used to use Mailgun back in the old days. I use SendGrid now, and SendGrid is infinitely easier to set up, for example, than Amazon SES. And they made one improvement that I really love. First of all, it's free to do a reasonable number of emails. So comparing it to Podia, you can do, I think it's like 1,000 emails for free. And all you need is a trusted email. You don't even need, although you should, I'll tell you why in a second, you don't even need to have your domain set up. You could just do with like a trusted, validated email. But what you should do, which I love, they now connected to GoDaddy and a few other domain name hosts. So instead of even having to futz around with your DNS, you sign up for a free account, you give it the email you're going to use, then you press a button that says, I want to validate my domain, and it automatically does everything for you with one button press. So the setup time for SendGrid went from like 15 minutes down to like 2 minutes, and then you just copy this key and you paste it into Fluent SMTP, and Fluent SMTP then changes from using your web host's email service for outbound to using SendGrid, which then allows you to do all the marketing and the transactional email safely and efficiently in a brilliant way. The cost for the premium service for SendGrid, for example, is about $19 a month for, I forgot, like 100,000 emails or something you'll never be able to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So last of all, I think using Bunny.net with Presto Player, I think is fabulous, because it doesn't affect probably the people that are looking at Podio, but for more established membership websites that utilizing a lot of video, I've had a few people that have moved to us because they're getting Vimeo's a great service, but they have increased their charging quite a lot. And I've had a couple of people that got very large membership businesses, and they suddenly were getting some substantial increase in bills from Vimeo, and they've moved to Bunny.net and Presto Player, and they've been very happy. So I think Bunny.net is a great solution for your video at a very reasonable cost. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, because you referenced it, we'll just pull these together. I don't think you should talk about BunnyNet and Presto Player separately, because Adam Presser, who's a prolific, very successful entrepreneur, has built several now brands of products and services that complement his success with his YouTube channel. I give him all the credit in the world on that. Yeah. Sure Cart, Sure this, Sure the other, Sure the first thing. And, you know, he's got like 4 or 5 brands. He can market them himself. He doesn't need my help. One of them is Presto Player. In fairness, BunnyNet is the place to go to host your membership videos, because the tools and the pricing, the sensibilities. Bunny.net is simple enough for my mom to set up. You just drop your file.
I think because of your experience and knowledge, you're a little
well, we can disagree, because that's what makes a healthy relationship after all these years. But I've got clients and have shown, and I'll be doing videos on this. Presto Player is a benefit to somebody who intends to never leave the WordPress dashboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those who are smart enough to do the majority of things on WordPress are smart enough to sign up to Bunny.net, go in, and then drop videos in. Hold on, let me just finish the point.
I think I'm giving you a lot. I think I'm giving you a lot of time.
Because you're putting a modal overlay before I finish my point. Right. Wait till I make my point, and you can rebut it. If you're smart enough to use YouTube or Wistia or Vimeo, okay, you're smart enough to use Bunny.net. That's the bottom line, okay? Presto Player becomes an unnecessary, complicated layer instead of a simplicity for the majority of users. Here's why. Because when you do Presto Player, it sets up dual folders, sets up all kinds of API integrations, and then you're stuck with using Presto Player, which by itself isn't a problem, but it's like literally buy a brand new car and then getting a second car to help you drive the first car. It's like you already have the car. just open bunny.net, drop the file in, copy the embed code, put it into, just plop it, paste right in. It works perfect. So I don't feel the Presto player is a necessary addition. If somebody uses it, it won't hurt them, but be mindful. I'm going to sneeze. Be mindful of the fact you're adding an extra cost and an extra layer into something that you should be trying to remove as many things from as possible. Well, and I will stand by that with some video backup to show this.
I disagree with you there. But first of all, I think the cost if you buy it separately is not ridiculous. If you get it, if you come with WP-Tonic, you get it part of the bundle anyway. I think its great strengths is that you can keep in the WordPress interface. Secondly, you can access your videos in the media library. I think people love that. And thirdly, it provides some great analytical interface and data inside the plugin. And I think its UX design is quite good. So we have to agree to disagree on that one, because I think most things I agree with you, but I don't agree with you.
I mean, like, I'm looking, hold on, let's just, I don't think it's a big deal, but I just want to, like, here's the features of let me change what I'm sharing. Hold on one second. I'll just share the proper thing. But like the actual thing that they offer doesn't necessarily hold up with what you're saying, because here. Well, I'm just being fair. So let's just call it for what it is. I'm saying, hold on, let's add this in. So here's Presto Player. There's a free. It's not expensive. It's 69 bucks. So you get it with your service. But okay, what you get that it would do for free and so forth, multiple video sources, you can essentially do all of these various things anyway. The things over here that it doesn't do with the free one that it does here, chapters. Okay. Nobody needs chapters in videos. I didn't
look, Spencer. Spencer, I pointed out the three main strengths. You can disagree with what I pointed out. I totally understand.
I'm not taking the piss out of you. I'm just saying, like, if we're going to just round off this topic, I'm saying the theory that we're all discussing with Podia today, what you and I, and what I've been talking about with the Launch Kit platform and so forth is, can we arrive at a place where people don't add extra stuff into their WordPress? No, I'm not making this more than it is. It's like, oh, let's have lunch.
I wasn't laughing about that.
What can we, knock it off. What can we buy for lunch? And you're like, well, let's get some pimento. No,
I was making some.
And I'm like, we don't need to buy extra things.
My fault was I was disagreeing with the Sid Master. I was like, that's my bloody fault. I'm not allowed to say anything on my own podcast.
You are so precious, because there's not an argument that you're. I'm not saying you're not allowed to rebut it. I'm saying a discussion is a fair discussion of, ask yourself the 5 whys. Why do you need this Presto Player?
No, I think the basic. I understand where you're coming from, but I do think it depends where your knowledge, where you're coming from. I think in the things that we do have disagreement on is that I think the type of clientele and your experience, I understand why you have your position. I'm just basing it on my experience of the customer base that I'm dealing with. And the feedback, people like Presto Play and they like what it offers. It's not a right or wrong situation. It just really depends on where you're coming from and what you're looking for. I think it's really similar, to round it up. It's very similar to what you're really looking, what you're going to get from Podio, because it is a really great platform. But its main weakness is not Podio. It is because it's a SaaS platform, and they all have the same great weakness, is that you've got to fit your business model into their platform. And that's how it is. And you do a Freudian deal there. You know, you get hopefully, and it doesn't always pan out. There's some SaaS platforms in this area that got terrible UX and they're really junky. Right. But you're doing normally a Freudian deal where you're going to get that ease of use, which you see so clearly with Podio, and they've done such a really nice UX job. But you're always going to hit
and Marie Kondo, right? Like that's does this feature give you joy? Yes or no? If the answer is not a hell yes, into the trash, off to Goodwill. No offense to Presto Player, it brings joy to 2% of the people. The other 98% of the people would find joy if they just went to their actual thing they got to pay for anyway. Because
I'm trying to wind up this show in a constructive.
Just help me on this one topic. Do you pay for your customers bunny.net? I'm asking you a question. This is relevant to somebody who's in the business. I would presume that you don't pay for their actual bunny.net account, just like you wouldn't pay for their Wistia Pro or Vimeo, right? And all I'm saying is, since you're going to have them, as you should, pay for their own account for that expandable resource, just like they pay for their SendGrid, they pay for whatever. It makes no sense not to just say, hey, by the way, folks, just put your videos there, copy the thing, and paste it, because the other benefits don't obviate the need for them to log into bunny.net.
Sure, Spence, you're right. There we go. So, Spence,
by the way, if you pander to me, it will be worse, because like the purpose of the show is to provide.
I just want to wrap the show up in a positive way. So, Spence,
then spend less time pandering and more time just answering the question, and we'll get through the discussion. Do you pay for your clients bunny.net? Or do they pay for it?
No, they pay.
And they have to sign up with their own name and credit card and email, right?
Yes, of course they do.
So why should we disrespect their intelligence to be smart enough to do that, but not smart enough to take the video that they produced and drop it in there and then copy out the
No, that's your spin on it. They pride Presto Player. That's what I've been trying to say for the past 10 minutes.
Presto Player needs to come out of your stack. That's
well, fair enough. That's your opinion. I disagree. There we go. Save Spencer.
That wasn't hard, Jonathan. Yeah, you made it through.
Yeah. Okay. God help me.
18 years.
God help me. That's what I've got to say. So Spencer, what's the best way for people to find out
we're like the two people handcuffed together in that Star Trek episode where like they're having a knife fight with their hands.
I have no idea what you got on this bender, but there we go. So Spencer, what's the best way for people to find out more about you? And it gives you enough opportunities to tell the audience.
I have a new website called I like to torture JonathanDenwood.com. It's built on WordPress, but you can use Presto Player to watch the videos, because Jonathan has not learned his lesson with me, apparently.
God,
after endless times of us doing the same dance, I've said, I'm on the show, you're on the show. We're talking about something that we want to put in the record. Play the game, finish the conversation. Every time you put me through this, you're going to get it back and you're going to wish you didn't. So a new website is going up today. I love to torture JonathanDenwood.com. There's a picture of me torturing Jonathan over 18 years. You're going to see more of that. Because Jonathan does not learn the lessons of the past. He's doomed to repeat it.
For reals, I know this has been very amusing, but how can people find out more about what you got to offer in your main website?
You can find out how to do what Podia is doing, but own it, control it through my new platform, the Launch Kit platform at WP-Launchify.com. Put your name in the email list. My newsletter and my new social media, which I have also started to teach people and do, simplified social media marketing for a simple solution as a creator for yourself or your clients. And even if you are a tinkerer on WordPress, I have got the antidote for what ails you, because I can pull you off of the tinkering cycle of the WordPress endless changes and put you onto something that shows you how to make more money with less. That's the point. We're too old, Jonathan. We don't have enough time on this planet.
I'm getting older by the minute through this show.
Simplify your life, Jonathan. Get rid of that Presto Player right now. Call it a day.
Oh, God.
Adam doesn't need your help. He's fine.
I just like the products. You know, I could really.
His other products are outstanding. He's a great marketer. He's a great product maker. But we all need less.
I've been quite nice. I could have really blown your head off if I wanted to during this show. I've been quite. So Thanks for that, Spencer. And I'd just like to point out that we've got a great Facebook group where I try and post every day. And we've got a nice little community there. It's the Membership Machine Show group on Facebook. Join us there. If you've got any questions, and you'll learn something there as well. We'll be back next week with another discussion. Plus,
maybe.
Don't be like that.
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, well, it's up to you.
We'll be here. Well, how could we ever get to?
I found it very amusing.
We've been living together this long.
I found it very amusing. I don't know about you. I never know with you. So
I feel like I'm your sponsor. I have to literally figure. I'm the one that keeps you from going on a bender.
I think the 15 times that you mentioned your new product during this show, you should be the sponsor. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.